we're tired and delirious, so we have no, everything is just back noise at that point. Because of Jimmy and them keeping everyone up, and no real filling meal. It's just like
we're all in bad moods.
We're all in bad moods.
Day 2.
Day 2.
We woke up super late, dude. I think I woke up at like 7, and then I got out of the bathroom about 7:30, and everyone was still sleeping. I'm like, bro, we gotta get awake.
The day before that, we were really hurting on not having, at least for me, the first half of the day was really hard with not having like a full meal in my stomach. So Denny's sounded great and start off the day in a full meal, but that wasted a lot of time in the morning.
But when we went to Denny's, it was really funny because we asked for a spot where there's outlets so we could charge all our stuff, you know, and they brought us to this back room, and there's nobody in the back room, so we were like, hey, let's just stretch.
And did yoga in the middle of a Denny's, which I highly suggest if you ever get the opportunity. And that's the thing of yoga enthusiasts, is that they sometimes like to do yoga poses when they travel places. It's not unusual to see like somebody next to the pyramid doing a fucking downward dog or some shit.
We get to Denny's because they're talking about how hungry we are. We're like, yeah, we're gonna get the Grand Slam, and we all get these Grand Slams, and they come. The waitress brings them out. We had stretched on their floor for like 20 minutes while we waited for our food. She brings out these Grand Slams. I'm expecting to see like a huge plate of food, but it's just like all the food, they just kind of spread it out real thin to barely cover the plate. So we eat that, and it like didn't do anything for us.
Yeah, it didn't do anything. It barely dropped in the bucket.
That was when we were creaming ourselves in the parking lot. People were pulling up. We have our hands down our pants, giving us funny looks. People in the windows eating, watching us. Looks like we're playing with ourselves, but we're just putting on shaving cream.
My physical therapist, who I'm definitely gonna fire, and is my roommate Dan, who was on the trip. Is just a 22-year-old guy who works out fucking constantly, or I don't know, early 20s-year-old guy who works out constantly, and I use him for my physical therapy advice. His advice was, well, fuck it, just do 650 miles of bicycle riding. You got injured. That's the best thing you could do for it. So, and then he said, at one point he was wise enough to go, oh, you know, I think I see when people get hurt that they like wrap it tight. So I stopped and got a brace for my ankle.
Yeah, we went to Walmart and I got a bike lock. I bought a bike lock that I carried around with me the whole time because I looked everywhere for my keys and I didn't want to unroll my sleeping bag. I thought that they had fell out in the bathroom out of my pants when I was walking away from the shower. But they weren't there, so I figured I just lost the keys. So I bought this bike lock that I carried around the entire trip that kept falling out, and I'd have to turn around and pick it up.
So finally we leave at like 11 a.m.
We weren't exactly sure where we were going when we were in, like, I guess Monterey Bay area. I'm not exactly sure where it was.
We started late again that day. It was after like 11 o'clock. I think we had rode probably like between 50 and 60 miles into what was really the point and the biggest draw for me for doing this trip, which is Big Sur. And when I speak of Big Sur, I'm kind of in that 70-mile stretch that starts in Carmel, I believe it's pronounced, and goes down to like Hearst Castle.
I was a little bit nervous going into Big Sur because every time I told anybody about this trip, it was, oh, Big Sur's gonna be fun, like those hills and stuff. And I drove up the coast before a long time ago, and I remember visually what it looked like, but I didn't really remember what the hills were like.
After we left Marina there, dude, like it got beautiful fast. Like we took this bike trail for a while, and then eventually it spit us back out into the street, and like probably 10-15 miles out of Marina, we were like in this crazy like mountain region, and we were like back riding right on the ocean again. And it took us up these like pretty mellow hills, but through these like mountains that were just gorgeous.
But the riding that day in Big Sur wasn't too hard. There was some hills, but I more remember about that day the first really fast hill bombs going down hard curving roads in cool areas, kind of getting into the forest and stuff.
We did get in there late, so rather than pressing and not getting to experience that, we ended up staying. We rode for a portion of it, probably like 10 miles of that, which was a nice little introduction to it.
There's like green mountains on the left, and then cliffs and oceans on the right. About 20 miles out of Big Sur was a grocery store, and so we had to stop there because once you get in Big Sur, everything's like 5 times as expensive. So we didn't want to go out to eat or buy groceries while we're in Big Sur, and that's like a 70-mile like patch. So we definitely stocked up on everything we needed, canned foods and stuff, at the grocery store before that.
And so we tried to stock up as much as we could, but at the same time, you know, we'd have this bag and that's it. So we have the room factor and the weight factor, so you didn't want to get anything too heavy or too bulky because you had to carry it for a while.
Yeah, so we got off track a little bit, but I was wanting to kind of push through because we still had like 3.5 hours of daylight or so. But Chris was really, his thing was really swelling up, and it ended up being a really good campsite because the next campsite wasn't for 15 miles or something.
I think Weston especially, he wanted to make distances, but again, I didn't want to ride personally after dark, and I knew that was kind of going to be a more treacherous part of the road, and I really did want to experience it during the day. So I kind of argued for us staying or checking out Pfeiffer Burns, or I'm sorry, Julia Pfeiffer Big Sur State Park, which had another hike camp.
So we go and we cruise into Big Sur. Like the first part that we see is just like roads, like 2-lane roads covered with redwoods, dude. They're so beautiful.
It was a beautiful little state park with a camp there. We met a lot of cool riders who were doing crazy, interesting trips.
But this one, it was like in all the redwood trees, and it was just an amazing campsite.
So as we were pulling in there, we ran into this guy Alan who just got his doctorates in engineering and public works, which is, I don't even quite understand what it is, but it sounds fucking awesome. So for his celebration, he was riding north from Mexico up to, I believe, Seattle, and then Seattle across the country over to Maine or somewhere on the East Coast, which is, I think, between like a 3 and 4 month trip for him. Yeah, we ran into this guy Frank, who was like in his late 50s, who had done the cross country from Bar Harbor, Maine down to, I believe, either Mexico or LA. He ended up being very helpful and kind of, you know, I think he was pretty hyped on us having that experience. He was doing the same trip that we were doing. He was doing it in less legs.
We set up our tent like right next to his, and he was worried that we were going to be up all night and loud because he's like, so what time is early for you? And we're like, I don't know, 10:30. He's like, ooh, that's early?
Kind of before we went to bed, me and Weston made our rounds around the campsite, just walking up to everybody's campfire and kind of just talking to them and exchanging stories and stuff, and that was cool, just meeting everyone.
And then we met the Belgian couple who'd been riding. They rode through Yellowstone. They've been riding for 3 months on some, I don't know, some hybrid bikes.
that day, I found out that Chris had to get home on Monday, and this is day 3, I believe, and we're like, okay, well, we're gonna have to scratch like the plan I had of what stops to go to and reroute ourselves to get him back Sunday night in Encinitas. So we do that and just freaking kill it, dude.